Good morning. I'd like to call this meeting to order for the Blackhawk County Board of Supervisors for July 21st, 2026. Roll call, please. Ms. Scholl.
Schwartz.
Here.
Hall. Brandt. Kurtenbach.
Here.
Leyland.
Here. Would everyone please join us for a moment of silence to reflect on our actions this morning? Thank you. Would you please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 1, the agenda received as proposed or amended.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Agenda is received. Item 2 is public comments. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on something today that is not on today's agenda? Is there anyone online? Thank you. Moving on to item 3, claims and payments. This is a resolution that the Board of Supervisors approve expenditures and that the county auditor be authorized and directed to issue payments against the various settlement of such claims as allowed.
So moved. Second.
Thank you.
Good morning, Board.
Welcome.
Our total bill payment today is $579,703.02. And for the Sheriff 6040 Fund, we're paying $5,204.31. That's a little bit higher than it is sometimes. They're paying for some repairs at the range, $2,100 to Manats and a few other minor things. So they all appear to be fairly routine. In terms of the larger payments we're making this week, we are paying Esri for our GIS enterprise license renewal, $60,300. We are paying the first half of our CJIS, the Justice Information System budget, and that is $80,083.72. We are paying a partial retainage to Peters Construction it's actually for the VA building, $116,861.11. We're making another installment on work comp of $39,582. And we are purchasing a mini excavator from Murphy Tractor and Equipment for $71,300. And I believe those are most of the larger, more significant payments. Everything appears to be in order. Any questions for me today?
Looks like not. This is a resolution. Please answer as your name is called.
Kurtenbach.
Yes.
Schwartz.
Yes.
Leyland.
Yes. Item number 4, receive project updates from department heads and elected officials.
Good morning, Board. Kathy Nicholas, engineer.
Good morning.
I'd like to give you an update on a meeting that was held last week with the Iowa Department of Transportation, and several of you were at that meeting, and myself and the Sheriff's Office, and this is to talk about the intersection of C-57 and Highway 63. As you know, the DOT held a public meeting several months ago, and they wanted to provide an update to Blackhawk County officials, as well as they are still planning to meet with Bremer County and the City of Denver. So I apologize to those people if this is coming at them before they have their meeting with the Iowa DOT. So basically, the Iowa DOT would like to install a reduced conflict intersection, or a J-turn, at the intersection of Highway 63 and Cedar-Wapsie Road. There was, of course, some concerns with that idea, that suggestion by the DOT, by this board, as well as myself. They presented to us, they did tell us about some of the positive impacts that would be associated with this type of intersection. The Minnesota DOT, the Wisconsin DOT, they are seeing significant reductions in accidents and the types of accidents that occur at this type of intersection, they are significantly reduced compared to what is there today. It's similar to a roundabout in the fact that there is some hesitancy at first by the public, by motorists, that they're not going to like this new intersection. That was very similar. We've seen that with roundabouts. We have seen that many people now, some years later, they do appreciate roundabouts. They like the fact that do allow movement through the intersection without stopping in most cases. So the DOT did say that this is budgeted for FY28, so possibly next fall they would be letting this project with a build time in 2028. So that is yet to be determined, but it's going to be at least one winter, probably 2 winters before this is actually opened. They would install lighting, more lighting, they would do some improvements, but basically, as you know, the intersection does not allow through movements and it does not allow right turn movements of the side road or the intersection, or the main line. So instead, there's all traffic making a right turn, some traffic making a U-turn that wants to go left or that wants to go make the through movement. This is a configuration. They are still open. They are still tweaking it. We can post this on our website. We can get additional information out there. And I'm sure the DOT, as they mentioned to us, that they would be sharing more information. They will be having another open house, probably, it sounds like in 2027, once they have more design done, once they have a clearer timeline. Can I answer any questions about this intersection?
Hey, Kathy, this is Chris. I'm sure, I don't doubt that there's a safety improvement over just the way it exists now, but were they able to cite any differences between this kind of J-turn intersection and, traditional exits and overpasses as an alternative, or do they only cite the difference between untouched and a J-turn?
So at the public meeting several months ago, they did have considered 8 or 9 different options, and there were at least 3 different configurations of an interchange. They are telling us simply that the cost of an interchange is prohibited. An interchange would be at least $30 million. The J-turn, they're estimating they can get that built for about $3 million, about $2.9 million. So it's simply, they just cannot afford interchanges anymore. They want to fix this problem. This is a high accident location on their system. It's statewide. I think it's number 9. They want to do something now about the accidents that are occurring. Will this solve the problem? Yes, in the sense that there will be less severe accidents. Much like a roundabout, the types of accidents that occur are different. They're less severe. So that's really their impetus for doing this. They can do something much sooner and alleviate some of the problems. They are designing this, as we understand it, in 7 or 8 locations around Iowa right now, that they will be installing these around the state.
Chris, this is Rich. The DOT, when we met with them, it was quite obvious that this is the new magic thing that they want to alleviate some of these intersections that they're having problems with. We continued our discussion. The need is for an overpass, and of course, they're jumping to the wide diamond instead of the narrow diamond type overpass, so that's increasing the cost. I was corrected. I made the comment that I feel this is a waste of money one time, that they should be putting in the overpass. That's what our people are telling us they need, whether it's farmers or truckers. I've heard from a bunch of both. I stand corrected that if this saves one life, then it was worth the money. I do agree with that part. But the need is still for an overpass at that intersection. I feel for the truck drivers that are going to have to do those U-turns, for our farm families that have to have equipment going around and doing those U-turns around the, and I'm concerned that this is gonna push the traffic to other intersections and make them more unsafe. So, at this point, it's gonna be a wait and see. But at this point, they are going through with the J-turn. There is no stopping at this point. This is what they're gonna do.
Yeah, I think they've studied it and spent a lot of time on it. This wasn't something that they hurried through, but they did appreciate the fact that, I think we saw that too, of the need that they're doing it so immediate for the public safety feature. I mean, that's why, and they also, I thought, didn't discount the fact that it could be different in the future, depending on what they see for the results of this, and if this helps, and if this does what they think it will. But if there were issues, that it didn't mean that they wouldn't do something different in the future, but it was just that this would address it quickly.
Yeah.
And I hope a lot of the safety issues will be, but yeah, wasn't our wish, but it certainly is the time and cost, I think, involved. And as Kathy said throughout the meeting, we'll do what we need to and have to make it work the best we can with signage and all the things that we'll be working together on, but, and hope it works, does what they say. Thanks, Kathy, that was a good update really of the meeting. Disappointing, but it was good, it was a good meeting that they made the effort to come out and explain it, I guess, too, a little bit more, even though we kind of expected this was gonna be the result.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy.
You. Anyone else with an update? Anyone online? All right, moving on to item 5, minutes approved for July 14, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. Item 6 is the consent agenda. The following items are acted upon by a single resolution unless someone wishes to have something withdrawn for discussion.
So moved.
Second.
It's a resolution. Please answer as your name is called.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Kurttenbach,
Yes.
Leyland,
Yes. Item 7, contracts and agreements. Excuse me. This is a resolution to approve the memorandum of understanding with the City of Waterloo to enter into a development agreement for the exchange of properties between the City of Waterloo and Black Hawk County to evaluate the potential relocation of the Black Hawk County Roads Facility and to direct the chair to sign for same.
So moved.
Second.
Kathy.
Good morning again, Kathy Nicholas, engineer. I will start out, but we have invited Noel Anderson to appear as well and answer questions. So this comes about because for several years now, we have been planning and budgeting to replace our Longfellow maintenance facility, and that is located at 1329 Longfellow. That's how it got its name. This is a photo of it here. It's in the northwest portion of the city. The main facility, which includes the offices, restrooms, the original mechanics bay, and 2 of these buildings were built in 1959. So they are aging. They are difficult to maintain, all those things that are associated with a building that is almost 70 years old. Some of the space is inadequate. We cannot lift up our dump boxes in the original portion of the mechanics bays. We have built some newer mechanics bays in this added-on facility. So it's our desire to replace this facility, portions of it at a time, if that's the way that the funding goes. We did. A mechanism was established several years ago to pay for this. We have the local option sales tax that is will now allow us to use that funding to pay for infrastructure, capital improvements, infrastructure, as well as, of course, continuing to pay for road and bridge construction in Black Hawk County. So we have a way to fund this. Of course, we don't know about the amounts yet. But as we were going through this process, the City of Waterloo approached us last fall, approached some supervisors, and suggested that maybe perhaps a land swap would be in everyone's best interest. So we started talking to the city of Waterloo, and I could invite Noel up here, but they have proposed several parcels to us as a land swap. Portions of Longfellow for some of these parcels, and that's kind of where we are today. Can I answer any more background questions?
It's probably, no, I think that's a
We know
good
about that
lead in
part.
for it. I was going to say too.
Would you like to say something, Noel, or what questions do you have for us?
Well, no, you want to fill in the other parts that,
Just
beyond this.
what kind of got us to this point and where we're at now and the MOU, what that does for us. Thank you.
Noel Anderson, Community Planning Development Director. Across the street, I'm only allowed to come to the mic when they tell me to, so I didn't want to get in trouble. Yeah, really, the city of Waterloo's looking to partner with Black Hawk County. Looking at the previous map, there's kind of the county facility. This is one of those weird areas of Waterloo where we kind of have industrial near the residential. Right now, there's kind of the park buffer between a lot of the single-family homes. And so as the county looked to make improvements and expand their facility, we started to want to talk to them about, land use, and maybe there's a better location for the county to properly meet your facility needs. We have land over on Leversea Road area with the Waterloo Air and Rail Park, Warp Drive, if you're a Star Wars or Star Trek fan. That's why it's going fast, right? Because it's Warp Drive. So we started to look at that, knowing that, that could also help the county. You're out closer to the boundary limits of the urban areas, so you'll get out to the county roads that you want to faster. We definitely see the partnership of helping you get a bigger site, more industrial site for your needs. And then, with the exchange of property, the city of Waterloo then would look at the Longfellow site for residential infill development. We don't have a lot of new subdivisions on the north side, specifically of the community. We'd like to get more single-family home options on the north side, so this would give us a good opportunity with that site.
Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't know if you want to talk about those additional parcels. I know when we.
Oh, sorry, I can,
earlier
yeah.
talked-
So I think there's a couple of them up here on the map. As you're looking at the map, the upper right one is about, it can go up to 15 acres. That one's properly graded and everything. The road system is in, the water sewer connections are in, so it might be an easier parcel for the county to go on. We'd originally shown the one, kind of the bottom left, south of CPM. We had looked at kind of the Warp 5th edition, which is those gray lines on there. That's the future roads. Actually, the northerlymost road there is already built, updating the aerials. International Papers to the south, so we kind of have that land remaining in there. If we have another large project, we hadn't built that next roadway system yet. We had hoped to have that underway this construction season. We moved that back a year just to make sure we're meeting all of International Papers' needs. So there's more grading that would be needed with that parcel, so it might make sense for the county to look at the one to the upper right there, or even other land north of that if it makes sense. So we'll continue to explore those options with the county to see which site works best for you.
Yeah, appreciate that. Like I said, it was a great, like I say, collaborative effort as it turned out. I think that we're very proud of, just in the working through this to see if this is the option we would like, or it makes the best sense for both parties, because early on, what was, I think, an attractive feature with the property that we had on Longfellow was that we could do phase in, as we need to grow and as we had the funds and stuff available, and weren't sure how that would all work either, but we had never had that early discussion with the city as far as doing something with the land swap. So I think this is probably one of the first times this has probably ever occurred where the county and city have worked on something like this, so it's appreciated. I think I do certainly appreciate the fact, number one, that you're throwing out some other options for us to accommodate both, but the timeline that it seemed like you were willing to let us kind of phase into how we would phase out of Longfellow if that's the route we choose to go, and so we do have some options that way too.
And of course, the MOU, allows you to phase it as it makes sense for you to move out of the other facility. And of course, we have some other parcels in the MOU described to give you some more parking here in downtown Waterloo, and as well as probably get rid of an excess parcel I think you acquired through tax sale or something that would make sense for us for development purposes too. So again, very, very collaborative effort.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's the things we're touching on, so appreciate it very much. It was pretty quiet at your council meeting last night, so,
It was on this item, yes.
yes. Maybe that was it. We weren't exciting enough, but it was just like, really appreciated, like I said, the support that we had, at least to go forward from the city of Waterloo. And yeah, this brings us to this point.
No, what's next steps then as far as moving forward with this? Do you need anything more from us after we approve this MOU?
We'll start to work on a finalized development agreement then, to finalize it, probably working with Kathy's staff and my engineering staff, to finalize which site selection makes the best sense for you. I think you guys probably gotta get into design work on each site and figure out your estimates and bidding and all that kind of stuff, but we'll figure out which site works best and continue to move ahead.
Okay.
For the most part, it's probably back on us now. This is kind of the part that we can actually move forward on now that we have this information and going
Yeah,
public.
yes, we're just about ready to go out for an RFP for architectural services for a new facility. So, yeah, that will be our next step, getting that ready, and hopefully within a month or 60 days, we'll be ready to do that.
Okay.
Super. Well, thank
Thank
you
you,
very
Noel.
much. Thank you.
Kathy,
both.
thank you.
Thank you.
Did you have any questions, Chris?
No questions.
Okay, super. Well, this is a resolution. Please answer as your name is called.
Kurttenbach.
Yes.
Schwartz.
Yes.
Leyland.
Yes. Not a big event, but big enough for us. So thank you very much for attending.
Yes.
Item 8, other business. Motion that the travel request submitted by Gabby DeWitt, Marketing Coordinator, to attend 3CMA Annual Conference in Denver, Colorado, September 9 through the 11th, 2026, at an estimated cost of $2,410 be approved, and that the chair be directed to sign for same.
Motion approved.
Second?
Hi.
Hello.
Good morning, Gabby DeWitt. This is the first time that I'm attending this 3CMA conference, but I've been asked to present on accessibility. I'm co-presenting with a colleague out of Minnesota, and we're hoping to ease people's fears about accessibility, even though we still have it ourselves. But that makes the conference a little bit cheaper for me to attend. And 3CMA is the reason that I found out about accessibility. It is a national organization for city-county marketing associates. So it's just really great information, and it'll be the first time that I've had an opportunity to attend.
Thank you. Good luck with your presentation.
Well, thank you. Any other questions? Okay,
Thank you.
thanks.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Item B, discussion, possible board action concerning property at 326 3rd Street, Washburn, for authorization of facilities director to move forward with a final written demand, obtain a title report, and initiate abandoned property litigation in pursuit to Iowa Code 657A.
And
Where do we
Have
want to
some
begin?
update first.
very briefly, I just want board authorization to move forward with obtaining a title report, setting final demand, as well as with, once the demand period expires, with filing 657A litigation in district court. We have not received, did not receive a response when we requested the actual contract for the renovations that were supposedly going to take place at that house, so this is the next step. I think you guys know that as well.
Next in process.
So Mike, what do you need in a motion from us today?
Yeah,
I want motion to authorize the obtaining of a title report and moving forward with 657A litigation. And that
So
will
moved.
include the demand, yep.
All right, I'll offer a motion to move forward with the title report and the initiation of the 657A procedure.
Second.
okay. This is a resolution. Please answer as your name is called.
Kurttenbach.
Yes.
Schwartz.
Yes.
Leyland.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks, Mike. Item C, discussion of culture team action plan presentation.
Did I just close this? Right. And then, yeah, how do I get it? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, good share.
Okay, good morning, Board. Amanda Fezemeyer, Human Resources Director, here to talk about the action plan proposed by the Culture Team, and also just kind of give a brief highlight of what the Culture Team is, as it does differ from the action plan teams for strategic priorities. Really quick, here's our Culture Team made up of the members from the Human Resources Team, myself, Anna, and Sherry, as well as Mike Hendrickson, Conservation Director, who you'll hear from in a little bit as well, Gabby DeWitt, a Marketing Coordinator, and Linda Leyland, Board of Supervisor. This slide is our process, and I just want to note here that it is, again, similar but different from the action plan teams that you heard from 2 weeks ago. The main difference is that this Culture Team focuses on the results of the generally accepted people metrics survey, known as the GAPM, and as opposed to starting from the strategic priorities that the board set through strategic planning a year ago. So our process, it is an annual process. It's intended to be an annual team that meets. The team members may change from time to time, but we have the GAPM that's taken once a year. We receive those results, and there's always a natural question of what do you do with that information? And that's really what this team is designed to do, is to take those results and put some thought and some planning into how we can create plans based off of that feedback. So we gather qualitative data, we identify barriers, develop solutions. Those should sound familiar because that's very similar to what the action plan teams have done for strategic priorities, and then of course implement an action plan. But I just want to highlight this process and that it is an annual kind of method that we'll be following with each GAPM that's taken. So to begin with, where the Culture Team started with his action plan is, of course, the GAPM results. So if you recall, in 2025, we took our first GAPM, which is kind of considered our baseline. That was the first countywide workforce survey that I can recall that's been done here and coordinated through the Human Resources Office. We have different surveys, like exit surveys. We've done focus groups, things like that, but this was truly one of the first countywide workforce surveys that we've done. And out of those results, we looked at the top bottom scores, and accountability was kind of the main theme, an area that our workforce told us we need to improve on. So in that range from things from a team perspective, such as holding each other accountable, trusting a teammate, and also management involvement as a manager holding a poor performer accountable and holding a manager accountable. So that's where we started. And from there, the Culture Team then had facilitation sessions with Ted Garnett. One of the first things we did after receiving those results is develop these drill down interviews. And that essentially was taking each Culture Team member, met with 4 to 5 employees, ranging from department head level down to entry level, or just a wide range of demographics that we met with. And we asked these 3 questions, and we focused it around accountability. And we said, you know, regardless of how you rated this, maybe in your department you rated it high, but overall, we can see from the 70% response rate, which is a high confidence interval, that most people rated accountability measures low. So we asked our interviewees, you know, what were you thinking when you rate accountability? What does that mean to you? What does accountability sound like, or even your definition of accountability? Then we said, so if you were to take that GAPM again, and of course it's the same questions, and you were to rate accountability higher or lower, what would you need to start see happening or stop see happening? So again, that's not to get accountability to like an 8 on a scale of 1 to 10. Right now it sits at a 4. We're just trying to get it from a 4 to a 5. And they gave us feedback on that. And then the last question was, well, what's working well with accountability that you would like to see continue? And so that kind of allows for some of those that said, well, it's working well here in our department. I rated this much higher than a 4. So how do we know it's working well? Like, tell us what you're seeing. So we gathered that information, and that helped us to identify then and think about, brainstorm barriers to why we don't just fall out of bed doing this automatically. That's a phrase that Ted often uses, that there are certain things that we just know how to do, and accountability maybe isn't one of those. So what are the barriers that are getting in our way from being able to do accountability really well here. And you can see, similar to the action plan teams for strategic planning, we use the DOT method and the cards that we were taught through the facilitation process. And we identified that inconsistent follow-through, standards, and enforcement was the #1 barrier, followed by lack of trust and that there's not a focus on building relationships. And then followed by that people experience difficulty in addressing conflict and that there's like a lack of confidence to do that. And then lastly, there's this poor communication, especially for clear and concise communication. And then the culture team, so after the GAPM results, the drill down interviews, then we felt it was important to get supervisor feedback. So we sent out and developed pretty much one question supervisor feedback centered on accountability. And this was the question: as someone who supervises staff with additional support, what additional support would help you apply accountability practices confidently and consistently? And, if you recall, most of these supervisory staff had been through Leadership University and Accounting and received the Accounting book. So there were already some tools that were given, some training, but we were asking to go a bit further. So what more? Because that's just kind of a one-time event, that leadership training and Accounting. Some felt comfortable, confident to take it to that next level. Others felt like they still needed more, and this was the top 3 responses we received from supervisory staff. I would like clearer tools on processes for accountability. I would like clear expectations around accountability, and I would like support in managing the impact on staff morale. And taking all of that information, then we started to think about what kind of solutions, what action plan could we implement here to address all of these different needs, from the GAPM to the interviews to the supervisor feedback. And we came up with these proposed solutions that, again, the staff input, having a feedback loop that will build trust, having some level of peer-to-peer mentoring and knowledge sharing and support, especially at that leadership level, but that could also be expanded beyond leadership titles. And then this third option of, having some kind of accountability program, or how do we put all this together and carry it forward? And now I'm going to have Mike Henderson come up here. He's going to tell you a little bit about his experience and the process he went through, some of the things he tried, and how it aligns with our action plan.
Good morning, Board.
Morning.
Mike Hendrickson, Director with County Conservation. And you may have heard me say this along the way, and I'm rolling back to when we started this whole strategic planning process. And we didn't make it through too many days with Ted that a lot of these things that he talked about and a lot of these things that came out in being a good manager, being a good leader, and all these kinds of things, and how they help you with the strategic plan and developing that strategic plan. I'm sitting in there and I'm going, wow. I've been cruising along here thinking that everything was really good in conservation, and staff is great. They are great people. But thinking that, they're loving their job and the way we do things is perfect and all those kinds of things. And so I'm just assuming that this is all really good. I'm not getting a lot of feedback from them and different things like that. And that's not giving me red flags or anything like that. And it should have been. And it's just one of those things where, I've been here a long time, worked under a couple of different directors, and I just continued to do things the way they did things. But times change and cultures change and people change, and your new employees are much different than the ones that have been there for 30 years and those kinds of things. And so all these things started to come out in these meetings that we were having, and it was just a huge wake-up call for me. And I'm going, I'm not doing enough. And I think these little things that I see that are happening in conservation, that I'm kind of wondering why this is going on, but I'm not asking the questions. I'm just going, yeah, but we're still okay. And I just kept doing my own thing. Finally, one day, it's like, no, we can be so much better. We can be so much better. And I've got to find out how we can be better. And the only thing I could come up with was just simply the fact that I've got to sit down with every one of these employees, and I've got to give them their day in court, so to speak, and basically ask them, hey, how are things going? Are we supplying the resources that we need to supply you with to do your job? Do you have concerns? Do you understand our system? When we do things and when we make decisions and we prioritize things, do you understand why we're doing that? And if you disagree with it, that's great. Tell me tell me the ones you disagree with, and I'll explain why we probably came to this conclusion. It's going to help you understand a whole lot better. And so I had these things in mind when I decided I was going to do all these one-on-ones, and I was right. I mean, when people started coming in there, I found out that I wasn't the great communicator that I thought I was. The people that I really had spent enough time with to develop relationships so that they were comfortable with coming and talking to me were the employees that I've worked with for so many years here. And I've been here since 1991, and they're not a lot. We're getting to be a small number, but I had a good relationship with those people. They trusted me, I trusted them, and we could have those open conversations. But the rest of the staff, and it's 21 people, folks, 22 with me, but 21 people. I've got 4 or 5 out there that are pretty good, but the rest of them didn't have that trust. I didn't have that relationship with them. So I go, we've got to sit down. We got to figure out who. They don't know me, I don't know them, and we needed to do that. So that's what I implemented, these one-on-ones. I did the first round about a year ago. I got more information it was a wealth of knowledge. And so I would go back and when Ted talked about open door policies and these kinds of things, do you have an open door policy? Well, of course I have an open door policy. I raise my hand, sure I do. Until he says, how many people have come into your office in the last week? And so, well, none. And how about the last month? Well, none. And it went on. And it's like all of a sudden it's like, no, here's the realization. You really don't have an open door policy, so to speak. There's a reason they're not coming through that door. Those one-on-ones gave me so much insight as to why they weren't coming through that door. I had not invested the time to develop the relationships that would develop the trust with everyone. I did it for a few, but it was only because of longevity and me working with them as long as I had. So when we got into this action plan and we decided, what can we do? I am just sold on the fact that you have to sit down with those people and you have to talk to them, you have to get to know them, and they need to know you or me. And round 1 was pretty good. Got a lot of information. We are just finishing up round 2. I've got a couple this week and I will have been through the whole staff again. Round 2, light years above round 1 as far as information, openness, and those kinds of things. And so I'm speaking for conservation here. I know other departments have gone down this same path, and I think they will speak very positively of the results that they have. But I'm only speaking for conservation. This works. It really, really works. And it's going to take more meetings like this, and that's what's in this action plan. But it does work. I don't consider myself to have all the tools yet. That's why I think the review and practice sessions that we're asking for here, there are more tools that Ted can provide. And then I think we can take these things and run with them. But just to summarize, conservation, I think, is so much better. I think you can talk to some of our employees. They'll tell you, yeah, it's different now than it used to be, because people are coming through that door and they are asking questions, which they should be. And it's worked for us, so.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I've even mentioned to Mike, I said, I've heard it from your staff, but I've heard it from others outside your staff of it. So I think that speaks volumes, it did to me, of how well this is working and how, like I said, thanks to all of you that are doing these efforts to kick this off and then start doing this on a regular basis, just makes it so much better. So thank you.
Okay, so to highlight now the action plan here, so we do want to acknowledge that there has been previous training already, invested by the board, by departments, and that was done last year where all supervisors had the opportunity, and we had almost all of them attend Leadership University and Accountability, and again, they received that accountability book. But as we know, training alone doesn't create behavior change. It doesn't create culture. It really has to start applying that information, which is again why we sought from supervisors, like, what more do you need? Because we recognize a one-time training event isn't always going to be necessarily enough. Even these review and practice sessions, with Ted aren't necessarily in Mike Hendrickson. That's the next step, is to introduce these being facilitated by Ted and Mike. But it is building kind of a program, right? It's building a system. So it starts, you have that initial training, that initial foundation. I think it pairs well with the one-on-one plan from priority number 2. So there's additional things that we're looking at to try to set everyone up for success. But I just want to highlight that even through our culture team, we came as a solution. We had one that was, well, managers need more training. And Ted was pretty frank with us. He said, you have training. It's not that you haven't invested in training. What's the next step? And again, we have seen some department heads, elected officials, that leadership university already kind of spurred a spark, and they thought, I needed to do things differently, like what Mike just described. And so that's where this is kind of leaning towards. The review and practice philosophy, again, is the purpose of these sessions, is to move supervisors beyond understanding accountability and towards consistently demonstrating that in their daily leadership practices. The tone of it is not accountability to people, it's accountability with them, and that's where the trust factor comes into play. So we know that training creates knowledge, practice creates confidence, repetition can create habits, and habits create culture. So it's not a one-time event, it is a series of events, series of reintroducing the topics and giving people the space to practice and apply that and continue it. So for the Board of Supervisors, culture team and Ted has started working on developing learning objectives on accountability and building trust for these review and practice sessions. As I previewed 2 weeks ago, we have right now supervisors signing up for these 3 sessions you see here, August 26th, September 9th, September 23rd, total cost of $15,000 for those 3 sessions. The culture team and Ted Garnett also discussed creating like a pre-test for participants ahead of it. So there'll be a little bit of pre-work that needs to be done, and that really just allows us and the facilitators, Mike and Ted, to tailor the discussions towards where supervisors need the most support. So, and as well as I have given, for example, I'm going to talk about our county auditor, gave Karen a heads up that we may ask for others that I know are already also implementing things like one-on-ones, that they can kind of contribute to that success, how they've implemented those, similar to what Mike described. So be aware for that pre-test and opportunity to share things with others. And then the last part of this, again, so there's the 3 sessions and then the culture team to develop a communication plan. This is where Gabby and Linda come into play to share with our workforce on how GAPM results and additional input from employees and supervisors are shaping this action plan. And that's, again, just back to that, we want to be able to show how we're using the GAPM and how those results are driving change. And that is the presentation that we have for you. I do have an addendum to the contract with Ted to present for approval next week, and I'd like to get that on there. But also available for questions or.
That should give everybody too. I know with a couple missing today, they were going to try to review the information from today's meeting.
Sure.
So everybody be ready for that. No, I think you did a great job of summarizing it. It was a lot of information and a lot that we worked on and weren't sure how it would all come together, but with the interviews and the GAPM and everything else that we kind of drilled down on, it was a lot of information that I think we knew, but it was just like putting it in place and trying to help and assist where we can, not just asking people to do it, but to help in any ways that can be done with Ted, or these repeat sessions, I think, or the wrap, I said are helpful even to me to kind of reconnect with Ted and, just kind of get some of that you maybe didn't remember or didn't come fresh to mind when you've missed meeting with him often. And I know so many of the staff haven't been involved in action planning and things like that too. So that's been another avenue that's been great, that's keeping us all going. But when it all kind of clicks, like he said, it isn't something that happens overnight. It takes years before you really start seeing the impact that this has. And so we don't want to rush anyone or feel like you're overwhelming them, but I know it's also new to all of us. It's been felt like that at times. Mm-hmm. So thank you.
But it is progress.
Oh, yeah, huge.
And even the support of the GAPM for 3 years, to have like a full 5-year cycle of that, I think that's, for me, even the time we took the baseline, it's like, well, what are we doing with this information? How are we really demonstrating that it's being used so that it's not something else that just kind of gets asked and not and set aside. And I think the culture team really gives purpose to those GAPM results and takes it even a step further. I think it's really interesting to see now from 2 years ago when we started this strategic planning process to where we are today, to see how it's really building on a system, and one that I think eventually, there is more that we do this and engage, the more that I think it will become embedded into our culture, where these are review practice sessions that could be completely facilitated kind of internally. It's very appreciated to get to work with a consultant that has that lens of a lot of experience in doing this for a wide range of organizations, because we know we're doing hard work trying to assess and really just facilitate a strong culture here across the whole county, as opposed to into those silos that sometimes we get stuck in, that things are okay over here in this department, but not necessarily okay and over here. And it's been a really interesting experience to get to work closely with a kind of culture coach or consultant, and work with Linda and other department heads. And as HR, we really appreciate the support, because it really feeds into so much of what we do every day. So, and yeah.
I think when we started too, we were for the most part hoping to have the mission values and goals. And this developed so much more and I think a lot of that probably because we were utilizing staff. We wanted it to be supportive by everybody and participation by everybody, having some roles in it too, not just from your department heads and your supervisors, like sometimes that's been what we've had in the past. So I think as all this is developed, like I said, we just kind of, the culture, really, everybody kind of was very interested in the culture change, and so it just kind of gravitated toward that, and I think we were all wanting more and more, and to see, like I say, better results for the county. And I know we've talked about some of the things that we all wanted. I've always wanted like the county to be one of our top employers in the state, we talked about, but I said the county itself, I know they mentioned Tavis, and your comments as well. Chris has made some too, of just, being the best we can be, and I think everybody was doing that as well, not just us wishing it on some people.
Right.
People were wanting that, so we've seen the results of how this is developing, and it's just, I think, been, as soon as everybody can see those results as well. And I'm hoping that wrap sessions kind of pull us all together again to kind of see too and go further. So thank you. But no, it was a great summary. I think she covered a lot. Any questions, or Chris, or do you have anything?
No questions, but I appreciate the willingness of the different supervisors to take a deep look at how they're doing things, and their willingness to adjust and improve.
Thanks, Chris. Yep. All right. So
Thank you. So,
I'll be back next week, because there's really no action. This is really just our kind of the pitch, and we'll be back probably next week.
Yeah,
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you. Item number 9, reports or information from the board.
I got a couple things here. One is last week, took a trip down to Des Moines to attend the Iowans for Tax Relief Symposium on Local Governments. There was some enlightening things there, and some things, just say it was interesting. I didn't know about submitting anything as far as mileage for that, but there was some information I want to go over with Michelle, and she gets caught up, that was presented at that. Relating to that is Wednesday, we have the ISAC seminar on the property tax bill. So that's coming up. And then Thursday, we have our subcommittee meeting for the post-bid questionnaire. And I've invited a couple gentlemen that are involved with setting safety standards for the University of Iowa College for their construction projects to come and give us some information as well for that.
Anything else for reports or information from the board? I think we had quite a few things that we were having on the 28th.
Yeah, next week's gonna be a full agenda.
All right. Ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Opposed, same sign. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you all.